Can you believe it's November? I know it's been a week, but it doesn't make it any easier to process, I guess. But I think that over the years, especially from older people, I have heard that the older you get, the faster time seems to go by. Well, you guys, today I decided that I was prepared to describe the upcoming holiday, which this seems to be one of the top two most significant holidays when it comes to what it does to people, how people spend, how people behave, how people plan for it. And I thought that I would ramble away at how I think of it as one of those sacred cows. In case you don't know, a sacred cow is some kind of idea, institution that is esteemed to a degree that is above any kind of criticism. And although I'm proud that in more modern days, people seem to be slowly but surely waking up to how really useless these traditions can be, I still feel like people have an obligation, especially culturally or socially, to participate in such an event. I thought that I would sit here and describe it a little bit. So for me, Thanksgiving hasn't really been fun ever since I stopped being a kid. For me, Thanksgiving was fun when I was close to my grandma, because my grandma has legendary cooking. And to me, the best turkey I ever had in my life was made by her. But after that, the family became dispersed, and especially after my grandfather passed away, she still tried to keep that tradition going, but of course, she didn't really devote to it quite as much. To me, Thanksgiving simply meant get together and overeat. We really didn't discuss the significance of it, and it also doesn't help that the school system really romanticizes what the holiday is supposed to be about. And to be honest with you, to this day, I'm still not sure what it's supposed to mean, but I just know that it has pretty messed up beginnings, especially when it comes to the Native Americans. And I think that traditions like that is something that you wouldn't want to feel proud of. But at least in modern days, it's so easy for things to have their meaning twisted, or for us to detach ourselves from it completely. But for me personally, in modern days, as a retail worker, Thanksgiving sucks because customers have already been becoming challenging in ways that are inexcusable, if you ask me. But because of the higher expectation, given that everybody values money more, as in they expect for their money to take them farther than ever, and they expect to get great quality everything, but they're not necessarily willing to pay for it. But if they're willing to pay for it, that means that they become more entitled and anal than they have to be. It sucks to be a retail worker because, of course, your hours get extended, and whoever employs you believes that work has to be the center of your universe, the center of your life. You cannot expect to have days off during those days. And if you do, there's going to be a degree of compromise. Either you will be overworked the day off, the day leading to, or maybe a little bit for the cleanup process the days after, but the days after it tends to be a little dead, especially considering Black Friday. And it depends on what kind of retail you are, because not all retail is the same. Some places are dead, some places are really lit. For me, when it comes to Thanksgiving, I just don't particularly care about what people do or people are up to, but of course, that's what they want to talk about the most. They want to talk about who is flying in from where, how long they're going to stay, who they're bringing, what you're fixing, what you're cooking, who's hosting, who isn't, who's cooking, who isn't, who's cleaning. And it's just stuff that I particularly don't care about, especially since I'm not a part of it. And at my own place, at my own home, is not something that I do. Therefore, It's not like I really have anything to contribute. And even if I had something to contribute, I wouldn't make that my focus. I will share what happens in my personal life with people I deem worthy. But I'm not going to just be sharing with random strangers details about me. And those are random strangers that I believe simply do not have space in my life to exist in. I just do not like to repeat myself and to share stories that really don't have much impact. I don't need to be asking you how your weekend was, because I don't care. Now, if something bad happened, then sure, share with me, especially if you're somebody I see every day. I've been observing that people are particularly hungry for attention in a way that I, A, do not understand, and B, do not like dealing with, because it's not something that I do. It's not something that I go through. And I don't think I should be expected as a worker to be absorbing that stuff. And sometimes I think that people need to learn to be wiser about who they decide to divulge things to. Like, the more people you tell doesn't mean that the situation is going to get any better for you. Now, you may be able to share a story to the right person, and this right person could change the course of your life for the better. But I think that some people overwork themselves socially, and they don't even realize how much of a drain that is for them, but also to the recipient of this conversation. And the reason I deem Thanksgiving a sacred cow is because no one really seems to be actively against it and actually standing up to be against it. I know people who say, I really wish that some people did not celebrate it. I wish people didn't take it so seriously, but there you are joining their events because according to you, well, this is the only time in the year we have to get together. Well, start sending the message. If this does not align with your values, send the message that we need to do better about getting together other times of the year when everybody doesn't have the same thing in their agenda. The airport sucks, driving sucks, shopping sucks. So how about if you instead plan to have your own holidays to where you don't have to line it up with everybody else's, and that way it can have more meaning because you don't have to share the ground with everybody else. But to me, one of the things that I hate about the holidays is that because everybody, that fucking alarm, is doing it, then it really takes away from my ability to enjoy it because it just feels painfully unimaginative. And you guys know me, I don't feel compelled to belong to something. I don't need to be a part of something. But sometimes I feel like everybody indulges in the whole Thanksgiving event because that is what everybody is doing, and you want to have something in common so bad with other people as opposed to you just doing your own thing. But me personally, I take great pride in not wasting money on those things. And even if I had people coming over and inviting them, there's always going to be that element of why does it have to be the same thing every fucking year? Why does it have to be turkey? Why does there have to be sweet potatoes? Why does there have to be casseroles? You know, it's so stupid and so corny, and that's what makes it seem to me like it's more of a marketing campaign more than anything. It's not about families and gathering and things. If you want it to be about that, you have to put henceforth the effort to make that be the case. Seriously, people do not monitor their own cars to shut off alarms. I tried closing the door to see if that would make it better, but it kind of did, but kind of didn't. But anyway, I just want to see people being like, hey, the economy sucks. How about if I don't spend $550 buying things for this holiday that is only gonna last a day or two, and we do this every fucking year? How about if you save that up to go somewhere else instead? How about if you use that money to do something recreational instead? I know there's people out there who do not need to worry about income and resources. Good for you. But for the rest of us, why is it that you cannot just be like, you know what? I'm not in a celebration mood. I don't have the money for that. I really shouldn't be spending the money like that. And if you happen to be in a career or a job in which they give you this holiday off, these days off, how about if you instead take this as an opportunity to just rest, get away from the mess, do something else, and invest your time differently? Hang out with your family, but be like, hey, fam, I'm going to use this time to hang out with you, but I don't want to do anything that resembles working. It stresses me out. It stresses other people out. We do this so many times. I'm like 50 years old. I have done this 50 times, even before I had a memory of doing this. Why are we extreme traditionalists? Ultimately, evaluate what this does to you. Does it really do to you as much of a positive thing as you really think it does? But to me, I will always criticize the holidays, and Thanksgiving is one of those that, sure, I'm grateful that people tend to be a little bit more giving during this season, which I think is something that should happen year round. But at least it seems like there's a little bit of excess that everyone can take a little bit of advantage out of. Some people make so much goddamn food that they have enough to distribute. But me personally, I like to look at things from a practical perspective. And for me, the holidays have never been a practical thing ever since I became an adult. Also, what about the individuals who may be sensitive about this time of the year because they don't have positive memories to associate with it? There's a lot of people who are homeless. There's a lot of people who don't have a place to go to, don't have families to visit, or maybe they have them, but they're so far they cannot afford to get together, or maybe their situation this year is not a positive one. So why is it that we would mindlessly market the crap out of this season when someone out there may not take it very well because they are not able to participate in such a thing? Now, I'm not trying to say that because someone out there is suffering, all of us should suffer. Nothing like that. What I'm trying to illustrate is how what you celebrate, what you deem as a great time, for someone else, it can be a symbol of pain, a symbol of envy and jealousy. How about if you instead decide to donate this season to hanging out with people who have lesser things than you? And the reason I bring that up is because there's a lot of people out here who really try to act like they have a higher moral ground, and there is a ton of virtue signaling going on. So I'm waiting for the day that I see someone in my community become that leader, and maybe I too will become a follower of that trend, because I'm definitely not going to be that leader. But the reason I made that comment is because I come from that place. I come from a place where for a long time I couldn't look forward to holidays, especially when I was younger and I had very little control over my emotions. This used to be an extremely painful time for me, and it still is. And I don't think it'll rectify itself until I can resolve my situation at home and my personal life and get to the point where I'm like, okay, this is the point where I feel stable and content. But I'm not going to wait for that to happen to start feeling happy and enjoying life. I'm trying to discover what it is about me during this time that makes me unhappy, neutralize that, and then be like, okay, I did something I never did before, which was take control of the situation. So when it comes to stuff like this, I don't like to really participate in anything. If I get invited, it depends on who is doing the inviting. But if I can, I try to bail and I try to have a quiet time, because the days that I used to join a group to do stuff, I just had like that feeling in my gut where I was feeling tense and stuff, because I'm like, what am I doing here? No one is really bonding with me. No one here is really going to be someone that I feel comfortable with divulging things that I want to talk about, which is things about my personal development. Not everyone is worthy of hearing what my vulnerabilities are. So why am I there? If I want to have a good time and clown around, I already have a squad for that. I don't need to wait for the last Thursday, before last Thursday, whatever it is in November, to do this. That's really it for me. This is just a rambling in which I talk about how I think that Thanksgiving is treated like a sacred cow. It's like, you need to get in the holiday spirit because all of this is going on sale and family coming over and this is what everybody is doing. And like I have always said, I always try to go the opposite way that the crowd is heading. And I don't do that to deliberately be a black sheep. It's how I feel. And I remember as a kid being forced to partake in these things. And I told myself, one day I'm going to grow up and I'm going to stop being touched by people I don't want touching me. And I'm going to stop being in places I don't want to be at, having zero control over when I leave. And that time is now. And I encourage you guys to remember that that is something that you can do. Sometimes I hear some people say, well, my parents expect me to be there and do this and that. And I'm like, fucking why? Why? You're over 20, 30, 40, 50 years old. Take control of that shit. If that's not what you wish to do, then don't do it. Or some married people. Sometimes you guys have to kind of battle out with whose family you're going to hang out with. If both families are not in town, it's like, are we going to the in-laws' home? Or are we going to hang out with my family? Or how can we split ourselves? How can we get the kids to spend time with both families so that one family doesn't feel neglected over the other? Or maybe be like, okay, last year we hung out with them. This year we'll hang out with these. All that mess, man. Like, thinking about it, it really drains my soul. It drains my vitality. Remember that this is an account coming from someone who is an antisocial. And of course, for me, the things that others deem exciting, for me, it's going to be very hard to find exciting. So if you have an amazing Thanksgiving holiday memory that you wish to share that maybe change your perspective of it and you see the point to such a thing, share it. If you are just like me and you wish that people would kind of let go of this shit, then share that too. Or if you feel neutral, then of course let us know as well. But the reason I put this out there is because I really want people to stop behaving like you're on autopilot. Because I can tell you exactly who does this as a instinct, as an automatic kind of reflex. And it's really sad. But if you're doing it and you feel genuine pleasure, great. But the reason I criticize it is because I hear you all when I'm shopping, or I overhear you when I'm serving you as a cashier, that you're talking trash about the things that you cannot find, who's going to be responsible for what, who hasn't found this. You're trying to get the team sorted, but someone is messing up the flow, and I see how this stresses you out. And if for some reason we are out of stock on your fucking cranberries, you go ape shit. That is not normal. Figure out a way to be creative and figure out something else to substitute. Try something else to be your fucking stuffing or whatever. But you guys just love to stick to the tradition. No, it's always been breaded stuffing. It's always been a roasted turkey. It's always been this and that and the other. Like, no. First world problems. Put that into perspective. All right, you guys, that's it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you soon.